Today, we will conduct a psychological analysis of one of history's most terrifying and controversial figures, Vlad the Impaler, also known as Dracula. Vlad is recognized both as a hero and a tyrant, and his life was marked by a series of complex psychological traits. This video will explore his brutal leadership, sadistic actions, and the psychological motivations behind them. 1. Childhood and early life, trauma and identity formation. Looking at Vlad's life, we see that early life trauma played a significant role in shaping his psychological development. Born in 1431 in Sighisoara, Transylvania, Vlad faced harsh circumstances from a young age. His father, Vlad II Dracula, was a member of the Order of the Dragon and had Vlad and his brother, Radu, held hostage in the Ottoman Empire. These years in the Ottoman court were a crucial turning point in shaping Vlad's personality. In a sense, his education in the Ottoman palace wasn't only about military strategy, but also about power, betrayal, and psychological manipulation. Childhood trauma like this can profoundly affect attachment styles and emotional development. Vlad was deprived of fatherly affection and thrust into the brutal world of political power struggles. Such early trauma can lay the foundation for psychological disorders like antisocial personality disorder, ASPD. Vlad's later actions of cold-hearted cruelty could be seen as a direct consequence of the deep scars left by his childhood. 2. Antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, and aggression. One of the most distinctive aspects of Vlad's rule was his extreme aggression and cruelty. His most famous method of torture, impalement, was used to instill fear and maintain control. This brutal tactic was part of his psychological makeup. Vlad exhibited clear symptoms of antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, including lack of empathy and indifference to the suffering of others. Vlad's use of impalement and other torturous acts is indicative of his emotional detachment. ASPD is characterized by disregard for others' rights, lack of guilt, and manipulation, all of which were central to his rule. Vlad's ability to commit such atrocities without remorse signals a lack of emotional connection to the pain he inflicted. 3. Revenge and high-level Machiavellianism. In Vlad's story, the theme of revenge is always prominent. The murder of his father and the betrayal of his family fueled Vlad's desire for vengeance. But he didn't just seek revenge. He demonstrated the traits of Machiavellianism. Machiavellianism refers to a personality marked by strategic manipulation, deceit, and using others for power. Psychological perspective. Machiavellianism is built around the idea that the end justifies the means, and Vlad's political maneuvering and cruelty towards his enemies embody this philosophy. His tactics, manipulation, lies, and deception were used to break his enemies psychologically and maintain power. 4. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and suicidal thoughts. Vlad's time in the Ottoman Empire undoubtedly left deep psychological scars. His life, filled with warfare and betrayal, suggests he may have suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The physical and emotional trauma he endured during his time as a hostage and ruler could have triggered PTSD symptoms, including nightmares, emotional numbness, and hypervigilance. Psychological perspective. Living through war and betrayal creates deep psychological wounds. Vlad's extreme actions might have been his way of coping with internalized trauma. PTSD manifests in people through extreme behaviors, hyperarousal, and sometimes suicidal ideation. Vlad's behavior suggests he may have been grappling with these psychological struggles. 5th, tyrannical rule and fear-based leadership. Vlad's leadership was marked by a fear-based style. He used fear to consolidate his power and eliminate threats. His brutal methods, including the impaling of thousands, weren't just for torture. They were psychological tools to intimidate and control both his enemies and his own people. This style of leadership can be seen as a manifestation of deep insecurity and self-doubt. Psychological perspective. Fear-based leadership reveals an internal weakness and fear of loss of control. Vlad's rule shows that his need for absolute power was driven by an inability to confront his own vulnerabilities. This psychological defense mechanism led him to rely on terror as a way to suppress any threats to his authority. 6. Modern perception and mythological transformation. Over time, Vlad became not just a historical figure, but the inspirations for the Dracula legend. His actions, once rooted in political strategy, evolved into something much larger in the popular imagination. Today, he is often seen as a mythological figure rather than a historical ruler. However, in Romania, he is still regarded as a national hero. Psychological perspective. Vlad's modern mythologization shows how fear and heroism can be molded into cultural narratives. His transformation into Dracula highlights the role of cultural perception and psychological manipulation in shaping public memory. It's fascinating how his brutal actions have morphed into something much bigger, embodying both fear and admiration. Vlad the Impaler was not only a historical figure, but also a psychological enigma. His childhood trauma, aggressive nature, and cruel methods of leadership were shaped by deep psychological struggles. By analyzing Vlad's life through the lens of psychological disorders like antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, and PTSD, we can better understand the dark forces that motivated him. His legacy as a tyrant is still felt today, and understanding the psychological aspects of his rule allows us to grasp the complex nature of power, fear, and the human mind.